Cloud. Thank you. There we go. Thank you. I need gentle reminders all the time. Again, welcome, Sangha. Thank you so much for the second annual community poetry share. We started this last year when Valentine's Day was actually on Sunday last year. But this year it's tomorrow. But again, we're still wanting to celebrate that and commemorate that occasion. Just a little bit on Zen poetry, and I'll ask Kojo and Kuya if they wanted to have any comments here. But a Zen poem is nothing other than an expression of an enlightened mind, a handful of simple words that disappear beneath the moment, insight to which bears witness. Poetry has been an essential aid to Zen Buddhist practice from the dawn of Zen, and Zen has also had a profound influences on the secular poetry in countries in which it has flourished. One of our founders, the Japanese poet Dogen Zenji himself, said to study the way is to study the self. This is exactly what poetry is. It's a participation in the way that we study ourselves, even if we are not the poets that are actually written. So for this time and for this moment, we just want to take the moment to be able to celebrate that in our culture and in our practice as we participate in our poetry share. So Sensei Hojo Sensei, any other comments?
No, just go back to even the early transcriptions of the Buddhist teachings where these had to go on for hours and hours. There's like a talk show format, but occasionally Buddha himself would sort of say, okay, now I'm going to recite that in poetry for you. Whether they actually did this or not, who knows the historicity of it. But if they did, it meant they had a really highly conscious way of doing public discourse, public presentations, because somehow the speaker knew everything that was being said and remembered it, and then would go back and recite it in poetry form. Whether it rhymed or not, or whether it just had meter, who knows. But in setting the liturgy to music, I found that I was automatically memorizing the lyric, even in these longer pieces. The piece I'm going to do today is about 12 minutes. And, I have it up on screen because I may not have it fully memorized. But even this one, I couldn't find a melodic way to set it to a melody other than a plain song or Gregorian chant. So I just do it as kind of a recitation to a tempo. But if you're trying to memorize, and I highly recommend it, a different part of your brain gets engaged. And even just establishing a tempo when you're going through the recitation to yourself or out loud helps you remember. When you set it to a melody, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, it's sometimes regrettably unforgettable.
Thanks, Hojo. Kuya, any words on poetry before, because you've been doing poetry for a long time as well, did you want to say anything?
I think enough has been said. Thanks.
Nice. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And again, the flow of this is that we will ring a bell in between each of the presenters. We'll do just a brief introduction and ask the presenter to say their name. And then we'll pause, ring a bell, and then go on to our next presenter. All right. And first up, we have Kuya.
Morning. It's good to see old friends. This is sort of a combination of a little bit of a piece by Thich Nhat Hanh, and then two sections of prose poetry by myself. It's called Love Letter to Earth. Thich Nhat Hanh. Every time I step upon the earth, I will train myself to see that I am walking on you, my mother. Every time I place my feet on the earth, I have a chance to be in touch with you and with all your wonders. With every step, I can touch the fact that you aren't just beneath me, dear mother, but you are also within me. Each mindful and gentle step can nourish me, heal me, and bring me into contact with myself and with you in the present moment. Close quotes. 1957 to 1965. I'm the spruce needle, Cambrian rock-filled trail where my bare feet climb the hill behind the summer cottage on Trout Island, Trout Lake, North Bay, Ontario, while my mother slept. I'm a small two-legged mammal winding through the jack pine grove, over the mid-island hill, and then bushwhacking down to the lagoon. I am the trepidation on the edge of the lagoon, the trepidation of stepping into the soft bottom silt. I'm my toes reaching out like feelers, ensuring I don't step on a sharp log. I am the giant bullfrog pollywogs that flitter their flowing tails across my ankles. And I'm the tiny pollywogs that tickle my toes and then later become little green frogs that sit on the lily pads and chirp. I am the confidence of youth that pollywogs and frogs will continue existence for a very long time. 2007 to 2022. I've lost that illusion of the certainty of safety. In that lagoon, I felt the surety of the cycle of the sun and moon, the wind-rippled waters, the call of the early morning loon. I knew that the earth was taking care of me and always would. I am not in that lagoon now, but I live near the Creston Valley Wetlands Reserve and walk there often. In 2012, I could stand on the edge of a local lily pad pond and remember the pollywogs of my childhood. Sometimes, if I was in the perfect place at the perfect time, I could see or hear a tiny green frog. But now, invasive grasses have overgrown the lily pad ponds, and invasive and aggressive frogs have migrated north from Washington State looking for cooler water. And they are killing the tiny green frogs who have pretty much disappeared. Climate change work has helped me understand that I am nowhere special, no one special. My home is here, there, everywhere. My childhood lagoon and all its beauty and life and the little green frogs must live inside me now. And truly, any place I serve the earth is home. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Now we have Hojo Sensei.
I have to go. I have another event to attend. I wish I could stay. Thank you. Bye.
I'm sure I can hold that and do this. Yeah, you do it. You can hold it. Let's see if this is loud enough. Okay. Okay. For some reason this is not reacting. This is an experiment, so I put a little rhythm track for this. No, it does not seem to be responding. And GarageBand experts in the audience here. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's see if this is loud enough. Can you hear it? As all things are Buddha Dharma, there is delusion and realization, practice and birth and death, and there are Buddhas and sentient beings. As the myriad things are without an abiding self, there is no delusion, no realization, no Buddha, no sentient being, no birth and death. The Buddha way is basically leaping clear of the many and the one. Thus there are birth and death, delusion and realization, and there are sentient beings and Buddhas. Yet in attachment, blossoms fall, and in aversion, weeds spread. In attachment, blossoms fall, in aversion, weeds spread. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That the myriad things come forth and experience themselves is realization. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization, those who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. However, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. They are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. When you see forms or hear sounds fully engaging body and mind, you grasp things directly. Unlike things and their reflections in the mirror, and unlike the moon and its reflection in the water, when one side is illumined, the other side is dark. When one side is illumined, the other side is dark. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the myriad things. When actualized by the myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the body and minds of others, fall away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. It continues endlessly. When you first seek Dharma, you imagine you are far away from its environment. The Dharma is already correctly transmitted. You are immediately your original self. When you ride in a boat and watch the shore, you might assume that the shore is moving. But when you keep your eyes closely on the boat, you can see that the boat moves. Similarly, if you examine the myriad things with a confused body and mind, you might suppose that your mind and nature are permanent. But when you practice intimately and return to where you are, it will be clear that nothing at all has unchanging self. It will be clear that nothing at all has unchanging self. Firewood becomes ash and does not become firewood again. Yet do not suppose that the ash is future and the firewood past. You should understand that firewood abides in the phenomenal expression of firewood, which fully includes past and future, and is independent of past and future. Ash abides in the phenomenal expression of ash, which fully includes future and past. Just as firewood does not become firewood again after it is ash, you do not return to birth after death. This being so, it is an established way in Buddha Dharma to deny that birth turns into death. Accordingly, birth is understood as non-birth. It is an unshakable teaching in Buddha's discourse that death does not turn into birth. Accordingly, death is understood as non-birth, non-death. Birth is an expression, complete this moment. Death is an expression, complete this moment. They are like winter and spring. You do not call winter the beginning of spring, or summer the end of spring. You do not call winter the beginning of spring, or summer the end of spring. Enlightenment is like the moon reflected on the water. The moon does not get wet, and the water is not broken. Although its light is wide and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in dewdrops on the grass, or even in one drop of water. Or even in one drop of water. Enlightenment does not divide you, just as the moon does not break the water. You cannot hinder enlightenment, just as a drop of water does not hinder the moon in the sky. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. The depth of the drop is the height of the moon. Each reflection, however long or short its duration, manifests the vastness of the dewdrop and realizes the limitlessness of the moonlight in the sky. The limitlessness of the moonlight in the sky. When Dharma does not fill your whole body and mind, you think it already sufficient. When Dharma fills your body and mind, you understand that something is missing. For example, you sail out in a boat to the middle of an ocean where no land is in sight and view the four directions. The ocean looks circular, does not look any other way. But the ocean is neither round nor square. Its features are infinite in variety. To a fish, it is like a palace. To a bird, it is like a jewel. It only looks circular as far as you can see at that time. All things are like this. All things are like this. Though there are many features in the dusty world and the world beyond conditions, you see and understand only what your eye of practice can reach. You see and understand only what your eye of practice can reach. In order to learn the nature of the myriad things, you must know that although they may look round or square, the other features of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Whole worlds are there. It is so not only around you, but also directly beneath your feet, or, wait for it, in a drop of water. Or in a drop of water. A fish swims in the ocean, and no matter how far it swims, there is no end to the water. A bird flies in the sky, and no matter how far it flies, there is no end to the air. However, the fish and the bird have never left their elements. When their activity is large, their field is large. When their need is small, their field is small. Thus, each of them totally covers its full range, and each of them totally experiences its realm. And if the bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If the fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know that the water is life. The air is life. The bird is life. And the fish is life. Life must be the bird. And life must be the fish. Life must be the bird. Life must be the fish. It is possible to illustrate this with more analogies. Practice enlightenment, and people are like this. Now, if a bird or a fish tries to reach the end of its element before moving in it, this bird or this fish will not find its way or its place. This bird or this fish will not find its way or its place. When you find your place and where you are, practice occurs. actualizing the fundamental point. When you find your way at this moment, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. For the place, the way is neither large nor small, neither yours nor others. The place, the way has not carried over from the past and is not merely arising now. Accordingly, in the practice enlightenment, Buddha way, meeting one thing is mastering it. Doing one practice is practicing completely. Here is the place, here the way unfolds. Here is the place, here the way unfolds. The boundary of realization is not distinct, for the realization comes forth simultaneously with the mastery of Buddha Dharma. Do not suppose that what you realize becomes your knowledge and is grasped by your consciousness. Although actualized immediately, the inconceivable may not be apparent. Its appearance is beyond your knowledge. Its appearance is beyond your knowledge. Zen Master Baosho was fanning himself. A monk approached and said, "Master, the nature of the wind is permanent, and there is no place that it does not reach. Why then do you fan yourself? Why then do you fan yourself?" "Although you understand that the nature of the wind is permanent," Baosho replied, "you do not understand the meaning of its reaching everywhere." "What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere?" asked the monk again. The master just kept fanning himself. The monk bowed deeply. The master just kept fanning himself. And the monk bowed deeply. The actualization of the Buddha Dharma, the vital path of its correct transmission, is like this. If you say that you do not need to fan yourself because the nature of the wind is permanent, you can have wind without fanning, you will understand neither permanence nor the nature of wind. You will understand neither permanence nor the nature of wind. The nature of the wind is permanent. And because of that, the wind of Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth, makes fragrant the cream of the long river. The nature of the wind is permanent. Because of that, the wind of Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth, makes fragrant the cream of the long river. The wind of Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth, makes fragrant the cream of the long river. Makes fragrant the cream of the long river. Makes fragrant the cream of the long river. You can ring the bell anytime. Thank you, Dogen.
Again, or okay. Howdy, everyone. My name is Taylor / Suki is my Dharma name. I'm gonna share a suite of short poems that I had written. I do enjoy writing and reading poetry. So they're. Oh. All right. So these will be numbered, and I'll read the title, poem. There's just 10 of them. 1. September 12th. The bluebird is now the knife-piercing air. A sapphire flare exposes physical time. 2. Compassion. Insentient wool socks. Yes. Use the other mic. Hear me? Okay. 2. Compassion.
I'll do number 1.
1. September 12th. The bluebird of the grass is now the knife-piercing air. A sapphire flare exposes physical time. 2. Compassion. Insentient wool socks carry warmth. 3. Mountain sail. Mountain sail under clouds. Rainbows decide to appear. The blooms won't stop coming back. 4. The three worlds. Amidst the three worlds fly 2 suns, and one hand covers the boil on the neck, banners in the wind. A ghost haunts the skull, the femurs pang blue lightning, emit ashen smoke. The napkin hides a dinner feast, a bloated pig pie, a rotting sky eater. 5. The pot of the plant. It says, "You will remain in the world. Bring with you this lantern day and night." In the ballroom floor masquerade chasm of a crowd, your skin face goes, wholly unnoticed. 6. One step in the night, one leaf crunch. On mist morning, in the flat wooden abode in Creek Forest, sitting by silent rail, you've let the ghosts see you. There's no longer living noiseless, the earth it quakes, and the creatures want your loving hand. 7. I've heard all songs 100 times over. In my Guantanamo dorm, everyone's tongue is beating this dead horse. It's the tempo of my breath. Meat flies onto the walls like soda pops. On the floor is nothing but this skid mark. They keep sledging. I'd cry at this orchestra if only they didn't repeat the hits. In order to withstand holding seat at this show, I untie the shoe. 8. The blue jay out the glass. There is always keep going. Once you commit some lesson or truth to memory, it expires. Who was once wise is now rehearsed. The unchartered free form is now routine. The celestial is unholified. 9. I am at rest with running waters. I am at rest with running waters. May the endless stream and all-pervading sound of river hitting rock take it with it my head and smother the woes of this unrelenting avatar. 10. Pat. Pat is the lady who, well, besides Pat on the call, but Pat takes care of Sonolite Park right next door to the Zen Center. So this one goes to her. Further up the mulch, the creator, Pat, waves to me a blemishless smile, barrow in tow. We cherish your garden gloves, truly, and that you manifest within dark and cross into light to prune the entrance.
The last word on 9, was it abattoir or avatar?
Avatar. I like the movie.
Would make a difference.
Jeremy, are you good to go? Excuse me. I'm sorry, Joseph, not Jeremy.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Apologies.
No, not at all. I guess I just want to thank you all for sharing the beautiful songs and poems. And yeah, no, I'm really just filled with a lot of happiness, being here with you guys. And I did have a few short poems for you. Okay, so hopefully this is coming through. All right, so sort of a cycle, but the first one is starlight traveled for aeons. So starlight traveled for aeons to ask the master, how long will planets orbit their suns? And has the galaxy always spun this way? And has deep darkness. Oof. Sorry, okay. I'll try again, sorry. Starlight traveled for aeons to ask the master, how long? Oof, I'm getting very sharp feedback from something. I can try to speak more softly, even more softly, but I do want to make sure you guys can hear me. But starlight traveled for aeons to ask the master, how long will planets orbit their suns? And has the galaxy always spun this way? And has deep darkness been still since before the beginning? How long will molecules sing their symphony? And has time always turned this way? And has deep darkness been still since before the beginning? How many days will fade into night? And has Buddha always smiled this way? And has deep darkness been still since before the beginning? How long will I travel and what will I be? And has the way always been this way? And has deep darkness been still since before the beginning? Okay, Wild Fox once asked Starlight. Wild Fox once asked Starlight, why is heaven empty? And what is my darkness to you? Where are you going? And whom do you journey beside? When will you get there? And how long does it take you? And has deep darkness been still since the beginning of time? But Starlight only said, I travel with brother deep darkness, and we voyage to the far beyond. To me, the night's like a brightening cloud, and each of your shadows a song. But for me, there's nothing like distance, however long the journey, for all of space is within me, and all of time is turning, and nothing at all has happened since we began this eternity, and no time at all has passed, no matter how long you took to find me. Okay, the final one is deep darkness traveled aeons to ask the master. Deep darkness traveled aeons to ask the master. How do you see without sight? How do you think without mind? What is perfectly without image? And why do mortals die? Where is the end of the path? What dangers in waiting lie? Why does time not have an ending? And where are you and I? And have I been still since before the beginning? And tell me, what is growing? What is learning? What is healing? What is mending? What is leaving? What is giving? What's arriving? What is sending? And have I been still since before the beginning? But the master just smiled and offered deep darkness a cup of tea. Thank you. Thank you.
Sanki.
I have a number of poems. Some of them are kind of in sequence, but I want to do this one at the beginning, and it's something that's in certainly all my poems are in process, but this one is very new for this occasion. Listen, Christian. First, Christian, you must know there is nothing in Zen that is contrary to your faith. The doctrines of Zen are resolved empirically. They flow from experience. Nothing is revealed. You say you know God. If you say this, you know nothing. A God imagined is an imaginary God. You limit God with language and imagination. You make God the lesser, a servant, not the master. Listen, Christian, the God that is all can be found, but not by looking outside. Take the backward step and you will find what you seek is here, waiting for you. No words, no doctrine or dogma, no beginning, no end, not separate, not apart, just this. Come sit with me, Christian. In all creation, is there that which is apart? The smallest insect, the largest whale, a mountain's crag, a snowy day, a stately tree, the wind in the pines, the rain falling on my roof. Is God not all things? Even you, Christian. Speak, Christian. Tell me who you are, who you really are. And if you can't, come sit with me and we'll find out together. So the others are kind of a series. First one is titled Happy Earth Day 2020. This morning, as the sun came up, I walked the paths that run along the Little Arkansas. I walk in a light rain, and except for a homeless man, I see no other person. I've forgotten how much I enjoy walking in the rain. I see a possum and two goose families, the first with 2 goslings, the second with 6. Near the big Indian, I see a black-crowned night heron fishing. He's not new. I've seen him or one like him a dozen times over the past couple of years. Always just one, by himself, a rarer sight than the heron I sometimes surprise. 2 male wood ducks dressed like fancy dancers at a powwow glide by, friends, I suppose. Just now, the clouds break for a moment, the sun rising over the distant downtown cityscape, the eastern sky alight with pink and blue pastels. How am I so lucky? Happy Earth Day. The next one was written in April of 2021, so about a year later. Dandelions. The flowers blooming in my yard aren't tulips, just dandelions, but I love them just the same, maybe more. Yet, though I love them, these blossoms will fall. Spring is here, to be followed by summer, fall, winter. Who knows whether I will be here to see the seasons turn or watch the dandelions bloom again. But right now, this day, these flowers are enough. The next one's called No More Tears, and it was inspired by Dogen's Teisho from the Ehe Koroku on the Parinirvana, Buddhist Parinirvana. No more tears. In Crane Forest with the moon fallen, how could dawn appear? In a time of drought, flowers wither, and spring is not spring. This year, spring is spring and brings rain. In the backyard, roses bloom so profusely. Overburdened foliage sweeps the ground. Up early today, I watched dawn chase the slivered almond moon from the sky. I will stop these bitter tears. and forgetting self, dwell joyfully among the mountains of forever beside the flowing waters of home. I'm going to skip my Sutra of the River Path and just end with my postscript. I ran on the path by the Little Arkansas early this morning. There was more water after last night's rain than I've seen in a long time. The north wind rippled the water as it flowed south. And I thought, all these years, that river and I, we've never stopped flowing to the sea. Thank you.
Up next is Lindy.
Thank you. I'm going to read 4 pieces. These are largely unedited, stream of conscious, poetic prose. Here we go. Authentic presence. A mix of German and Swiss, where you're telling one another only the basics, just the blunt, basic overtones that are almost obvious through gestures anyhow. I want to relate how the sound of the train anchors me from many different domiciles. It has warmed my heart and sometimes awakened me with a twinge of panic. Lonely call, all that hear it can detect the mournfulness, the incessant need to shout, I am, see, notice, I exist. I persist, and I cut out shapes of cloth to adorn myself thus. Painful to watch someone falling all over themselves, riot gear where sandals are more apropos. We venture into a cave where it's not just the darkness that hesitates us, but the unknown topography, the platitudes, the lure of cool and dark and cryptness, possibility of an escape. Traveling in a car alongside some distant soul may not be so different. We script, we posture, turn attention toward ourselves, create an image, and even while I'm doing it, I resist this ego-driven charade of which we all must participate. Staying present, I feel those discomforts, recognize when I want to escape, and settle into the moment anyway. Broken toes, perchance adoptions and structures that have stories layered within them at peerless depths. I don't know where these recurrences come from, but each cobbled step, each stony hallway, and every ivory covered wall will be examined, not bought or sold, but felt, perceived, experienced. From marabou to plastic pink to loosened rhinestones, every aspect must be consumed by the senses and not by the wallet. And then you happen upon the rare items that you extend an invitation to, something just right that will have enough temporary presence to warrant its purchase. But then I know I'm pretty well full of shit on that notion. Not the discriminating consumer I pretend to be, but it's fine. I can drop it all in a moment, dispose of it, donate it, gift it. The world of things is mostly transient to me. That is fact. This one's shorter. Williston. Startled, cawing in blue and green, lost in eternal sky, yet answered by another frantic bird somewhere else. A muted bark, an undifferentiated motor. Cicadas not realizing their day is past. Quirks and corks in the noisiest piece. A distant rifle barks out 2 shots. These sounds competing for my attention, and yet what holds it most diligently is the stunningly bright sun bouncing off metal to left and right, interfacing with the dull ache at the base of my skull, this pain that I partially surrender to because it simply is. My hand clumsily grasps this pen, looking for skywriting to write my penmanship, support my prose, the plane that doesn't spell yet arcs across my sky, sending a lonely reverberation across my timid heart, inching back in, but hesitating to fully open. This is good, this is comfortable. Another shot acres away, and I wonder what target has been struck. Does another timid heart pulse no more? A tractor drones in its drudgery, and a single acorn rings out the victorious shot on a nearby car hood. Snap, whizzle, groan. Oh, this cacophony of sparkled landscape. I rest in your perfection. Central Park, a different flavor entirely. I don't want to be a tourist anywhere, and as I walk, I'm writing with each step, each observation. Words course through me and ache for a pen to exit through. I try not to see, I don't want to feel, but it is futile. The brainstorming, barnstorming grackle aimed at me pierces just as much as the tiny brown feet that can't seem to locate the leg holes in the swing. A woman pale, almost aglow in her lack of consciousness, reclines in a wheelchair under a wool blanket. I hope that she knows that she is here, that someone is caring for her. These many birds chirp and flit, and dogs take on their postures of alertness, making sure their presence is perceived. I yearn towards the brawny vines of the wisteria overhead, nowhere near revealing purple dangling blooms, and I wonder whether Walt Whitman sat in this very same place. Unaware of the plastic surgery disasters to follow, or maybe he did know of these sorts of things, boutique cupcake shops. Surely that doesn't mean we've gone to hell. A passing baby stares at me knowingly, her little brain registering all. This is one of those days I don't want to look at people. I'd rather keep my head down and not consider them. To do so is to observe their pain, experiment with this non-approach, refusal of connection, and nudge myself a cheat and a coward. I look at more squarely at the next 6 passersby. To look at them is to invite them, and that is sometimes horrifying, often awkward, and on occasion, absolutely beautiful. The birds are chirping me onward, and I will look at each face I meet. Last one. Pause. Pause is the key to presence, a space for being, a gift I receive when I sip cold water, when I get in the truck and hear the click of the seatbelt, my notice of full and joyous breath, looking up and truly seeing one of my children, an acknowledgement of all the senses, a reminder of the body I inhabit, a pause during breakfast to observe the hummingbird seeking nectar at my window. My heart swells as I honor him, and the movie of rumination stops. Folding Aaron's underwear, he just moved up a size. Pause. Michael is saying something I don't like. I resist Shempa, I elude the hook. Consciousness allows me to listen, consider, and avoid unskilled attack. The heart quickens a beat when I realize an uncomfortable situation. Allow myself to settle into it, accept that others are going to disagree. I'm not required to be the arbiter of peace every time. The more I practice pause, each opportunity I allow myself to stay, I am more fully aware of I amness. I can more easily drop the narrative and allow the current to be. I'm reminded to savor the Indian potatoes Michael has prepared, to fully experience the sensation of my step as I ascend the stairs, to hear the clean, satisfying click of a key in a lock, to luxuriate in a child's sharp and uneven back rub, to recognize my neighbor's baffling anxiety by the urgency of her questions, to muse over the gentle scrape of pencil on paper. All of the sensory detail brings me back into my body, reminds me of the perfect vehicle I have for experiencing this existence, allows me the peace to adjust to each day's onslaught of situations, presence, a gift to myself, but also to those I intersect with every day. Pause, even in writing, even in the breath. A cicada calls out in the heavy night. I pause on a word and let it go. Foot tingles asleep. No need for longing or wishing for the future, no consultation with the past. Here, right here, this is, still is, the only moment that exists. I inhabit it fully, and I smile.
Renee?
Yes, hi. I guess I'll be the faceless poet. I don't know how to get on the screen. I have 3 poems that I wrote quite a while back. The first one, Accumulating the Present. That look ahead is winding down slowly as what I thought was faith, I find as hope. Last night, I heard a lizard scream, no bigger than a minute hand, caught in a web of dust. Only I could have set it free. I did what I had to do. Today, now, this very hour devours me, and the hour before it, and the hour before that hour. It is a situation beyond faith or hope, beyond boundaries of any kind. I know, I can see it now, out there in the sun on a rock, eyes closed. Remaining mindful. No, I say, I am a painter's pear, still lifed in dark shadow, yet no fuller than any afternoon. What is certain is the turning, and the turning will be done. Behind these curtains of flesh and skin, meat goes from green to white to black. Feeding on the ripe is the key to it all. Or when the one red rose, that one red rose picked and placed by the bedside, bows with bloom and drips its dew, graceful as a prayer by the bedside. Pathfinder. The clouds went one way, blackbirds went the other. Why must we bother to record the days when all that comes and comes undone goes forth without any aid? Calendars of other years were torched and set a-sailing. This should be the way of all yesterdays. This could be the way to the past. Fine grass invades the glade. Black bear smells the air. Thank you.
This is Fusatsu. A barn in a field, a room on a campus, a tractor pulling the till, a bike rolling across the lawn on campus, a sip of black coffee from an old beat up thermos, a snack of some Doritos on classes between classes on the sack, a late evening back porch cup of cold iced tea, a moment looking up from a desk covered with books, a jar of Kentucky dirt sitting on the windowsill, a load of tobacco taken up to the market, a head bowed down and a lapel pin applied, a jar full of Kentucky dirt sits on the windowsill, a tombstone rests in a family plot in a field, a dream realized and lives well lived. This was originally titled back in 1999, The Jar, but now I call it The Legacy. This one's called Nowhere. I may not be here tomorrow, but I am here today. All I have is this moment, not tomorrow or yesterday. I may not be here tomorrow, for the past is already gone, and all of tomorrows are yet to come. I may not be here tomorrow. The past, the present, and the future are one. I'm sitting here, the culmination of all my years, and all those things yet to come. I may not be here tomorrow, but if tomorrow does come, all I have is in that moment and time yet to come. All we really have is this moment. This moment. This moment. Kosetsu.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I've got two pieces. The first one I wrote, the second by one of my favorite poets. Neighbor. Your footprints missing from the freshly fallen snow remind me you're gone. Remembering your kindness still warms my heart this winter. I like short form. So Ryokan is one of my favorite poets, and I have several collections of his works. And fortunately, I've discovered a new one in the recent release of Okumura Roshi's book. So this is his translation. Walking up beside the flowing water, I sought the riverhead. Arriving at the source, I stood astonished. For the first time, I realized that no matter how long we walk, the true source cannot be reached. Since then, I rely on my staff and play with the murmuring stream here, there, and everywhere.
I'd like to take this moment to be in gratitude for those who have presented and open the floor up. Is there anyone else that would like to present that I did not have on the list? That is a time for welcome for that as well. Yes, Ungan.
This is one I use every morning to begin my morning sit. It's not too long, so don't worry. It's called On Zen by Daito Kokashi. There is a reality even prior to heaven and earth. Indeed, it has no form, much less a name. Eyes fail to see it. It has no voice for ears to detect. To call it mind or Buddha violates its nature, for it then becomes like a visionary flower in the air. It is not mind or Buddha. Absolutely quiet and yet illuminating in a mysterious way, it allows itself to be perceived only by the clear-eyed. It is Dharma, truly beyond form and sound. It is Tao, having nothing to do with words. Wishing to entice the blind, the Buddha has playfully let words escape his golden mouth. Heaven and earth are ever since filled with entangling briars. Oh, my good worthy friends gathered here, if you desire to listen to the thunderous voice of the Dharma, exhaust your words, empty your thoughts, for you then may come to recognize this one essence.
original brief one. All right. This will win the door prize for brevity. It seemed so simple at the time, we even tried to make it rhyme.
That would like to share? If not, then we open it up just for folks that did not participate, or even some of the poets, if y'all would like to, share anything else about the poems that you shared, or is there questions from those who did not share but would like to have comments about what they heard? Either way, please do come off of mute. Comments or questions, are much appreciated. This is again a community practice, and we welcome questions, comments.
I have to say, I heard resonances of Genjo Koan in Kuya's poem and Joseph's poetry, and virtually all of them, one way or the other, were touching on similar, I think, points. Maybe a Vietnamese.
Hello, everybody, friends from all over. I'm Pearl, and Sensei was just saying a Vietnamese poem, and it's like in my heart I want to share, but it's all in Vietnamese. I don't know. I don't memorize English poem very well, and I do really appreciate all the poems shared today because I felt like my heart is just like expanding more. And such intimate and loving. What a perfect way to celebrate our Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving and Valentine. And being grateful for, for this time together. So I'm going to read a poem in Vietnamese. And it's, sure. And it's called Universal Love. And I can translate it afterward, what it means. So it's a poem by a Vietnamese Buddhist in the Indochina French Vietnam back then. Peasants, the simple way of Buddhist practice, and he creates simple to remember. And
Are y'all getting a lot of background noise? Okay. Hold on, I think I know where it is.
go ahead. Okay, can everyone hear me better now? Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and this poem really touched my heart at one of the meditation retreat that I went to, the first intensive meditation retreat, and it called me to walk this path of become a Buddhist nun. So I want to share that with you. Yêu rất đượm nồng, yêu đời, yêu lẫn cả non sông. Tình yêu chứa hoàng vũ, không chỉ yêu riêng khách mã hồng. Nếu mã hồng muốn được yêu thì yêu cả muôn loài lẫn chúng sanh. So it's that I have this vast universal love, loving life, loving everything. Over the horizon of the sun's rising above, I have this not only over being promised over lifetimes, loving everything, loving all living beings. And so it's a simple translation, but it's the rhyming is very, very beautiful in Vietnamese language. And when I heard this poem read by my teacher, I just kind of broke down, and a waking moment for me about a universal love. So I just want to share with you, especially in honoring our Valentine's Day of universal love. Thank you.
Apologize on that. We have so many mics in the wireless and it's a little bit of feedback. So I wanted to make sure y'all could actually hear it. It was such a beautiful, it's not even that Pearl, had to be in English, but the feeling that came across as you were reading it in Vietnamese is beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Okay. Carol, yeah, Sanki.
I have a question, and I think it was for the young man that just left. I was wondering, some of the imagery in his poem, I was wondering if it may have come from, there he is, Joseph. Joseph, I was wondering about the imagery in your poem and where it may have originated, what it echoes. It occurred to me that there might be some, as you were speaking, what came to me was a raven and some of the Native American stories that I've heard about origins. I don't know if that had anything at all to do with what you were talking about, but the darkness and the light and raven stole the.
No, that's a really beautiful
stole the
question.
light. and
No, thank you for the question.
Sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure I can circumscribe it very too briefly, but suffice to say, these are mytho-poetic figures, Starlight, the Wild Fox, Deep Darkness, and the Master. And they're, it's poetry. It's its most basic function is to help us feel new feelings, think new thoughts, and get parts of our intrapsychic system unblocked, or our social systems. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, some of those things, Mark, these are extracted from a much longer, more devotional document that kind of maps a personal awakening. So they are sort of closed or opaque figures in a certain way, and that's but just to say, just narrowly, where these, the Wild Fox comes from is the second koan in Gateless Gate. And Dogen has a very beautiful analysis and deconstruction of it. And that, chewing over that is the most proximal Zen source of this stuff. If that helps. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone have anything else?
I might put this person on the spot for a second. But Randy Kosetsu, could you read your original poem one more time? I don't think I fully got it when you had first read it.
Sure. That's the problem with a short form. If you're not paying attention from the first word, you can miss it. So I like waka. It's a 31 syllable format. Your footprints missing from the freshly fallen snow remind me you're gone. Remembering your kindness still warms my heart this winter.
Randy, you might say a few words about waka. And it has a relationship to haiku, I believe, and the two triplets, or whatever you want to call them, there sounded like, and then there's that division, but those sort of predated and originate or gave birth to, didn't they? Had some relationship.
Yes, and whatever I will say is kind of somewhat anecdotal in that I'm not an authority on the subject. But if you read a lot of the older, Chinese poetry and in the early Japanese, which was heavily influenced by that, is in that form. There were several different formats of poetry. And a lot of times it would be kind of an interplay between people or between poets where they would, set a theme and then another one would continue it and they would come back and continue and so forth. So it was an even more kind of social interaction in that way. I really can't say a whole lot because I don't remember the details of it. So this particular form, you're right, the first triplet is very similar to haiku format in that 5-7-5. And then the last two lines are 7-7. And I find that probably the shorter the form, the greater the talent required to form the image. And so I have a struggle with haiku. But with the waka, I feel like I can, have just enough to kind of capture a feeling for myself anyway. And the longer forms, I feel like I can't hold a coherent thread that long. So this seems to be my sweet spot.
Maybe
that's about all I can say.
Maybe we ought to sometime do something where we get together a bunch of people that want to essentially ad lib, and then and someone can come in with a waka that they've already written. And I think what happens is the last line of the waka has to be the first line of the next waka.
Right.
And I think there also has to be a lot of wine or sake dispensed at the same time. But anyway,
I think I remember reading that.
An idea, whatever.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else? Again, if not, we'll just close and be in gratitude. Let me just pause one more time. Awesome. Again, poets, presenters, listeners, thank you so much for presence during this time. But we always think that this is a special time for the year for us to be able to share and whatever is triggering or giving us ideas to be able to. So thank you so much for everyone who shared and listened. So what we'll do now is do our closing. As always, thank you so much, everyone, for your practice and your presence. We're so grateful for that. Again, thank you so much to those folks that are consistent givers, contributors. And again, it keeps the lights on, us being able to offer opportunities like this. And if you haven't considered, we ask you that you consider, if you found value in what we do, consider being a contributor. We do have daily practice opportunities in the mornings and in the evenings and our intros. So please check out our practice opportunities. Next week, I think we have Shinjin Sensei doing the ancestor talk on Sunday.
Pearl, are you taking over for Shinjin this coming Sunday? Or are you doing a Vietnamese talk? Because it seemed like Mike was out of town.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he thought we needed something this week, so so we're good. Yeah. So again, everybody, thank you so much for your practice. Go ahead.
I talked with Gyoji, and it looks like he's about ready to start doing second Saturdays in person. He gave me a date. I think it's later on, but those of us who are vaccinated and following safety protocols will be able to come for a second Saturday, and that's 9 to 5. It's still online, but he said he's going to start coming in.
Pearl, and then I believe Harold has a hand up.
Yeah, I just want to share. Yeah, I just want to share that next Saturday, the 19th, I know we have some ceremony here. We don't.
The memorial.
The memorial, yeah. Oh, cancel? Oh, okay. Yeah, just want to share with everyone that I'm leading a children mindful day retreat at a Zen center monastery, about 40 minutes from Atlanta. And I can share if there's a flyer. So it's for English-speaking children and adults. There's also some Vietnamese, but it's the theme is always better together, and it's in honor of Thich Nhat Hanh. So that will be from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and lunch is provided, and it's just a mindful day together. It's next Saturday, the 19th, and there will be other younger monks and nuns from, I think, Mississippi, the Magnolia Monastery coming as well. So just want to share that if you want to come and bring your kids. Yes.
Yes, Harold Sankey, did you have your hand up?
All right. Without further ado, we'll do our. Hold on.
Use the big bell.
Oh yeah, I can. Do our closing Dharma verses. Again, everyone, thank you so much for your practice and your presence.
Beings are numberless, I vow to freedom.
Illusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Happy Valentine's Day. Don't eat too much sugar if you do. But again, thanks so much.